Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of Starling House by Alix E Harrow. This is a standalone contemporary fantasy story that takes place in a small town in Kentucky and primarily follows our main character of Opal. She and her younger brother have been living in a motel for years, ever since her mother tragically died in a car accident that had some mysterious circumstances around it. And so she's been taking care of her brother, who has very chronic asthma. And throughout her time living in this town, she's been kind of obsessed with Starling House, which is this remote mansion in like the outskirts of town that no one knows anything about. People have not seen the occupants of it in a long time. They know someone lives there, but they don't know what the deal is with it. She is trying to make enough money to send her brother away from the town because it's like a coal mining town, so it makes his asthma worse. And so one day she is drawn to Starling House and she ends up getting a job there as a cleaner and discovers that there's something pretty like supernatural going on about the house. Like the house kind of calls to her, it wants her there. And so she meets the lone caretaker of the house, Arthur, who we also get chapters from, who obviously has more insight into what's all going on in the house, and everything starts to unfold from there. So first off, let me talk about the world building. This is a sentient house story. So this house is responding to her, responding to the people around it. This house has a magical purpose that we find out throughout the story, and I love a sentient house. This is also just a gothic sort of mystery story wrapped up in the fantasy as well, so all of those elements of atmosphere I really enjoyed. And we have this small town, the culture of a small town, and we also get stories of how things have unfolded throughout this town. So there's a lot of themes of like colonialism and racism and wealth and greed and the things people do that basically create monsters. And all of that is told very interestingly through like even small tidbits sometimes, but I found that to be done really well as far as the writing. Next, I'll talk about her characters. First, as far as Opal, she is definitely like rough around the edges, has a ton of trauma, very distrusting, a very sort of like avoidant person, never has really felt like she has a home, so things start to feel fairly high stakes for her, and she tends to be really stubborn and like a black and white thinker as far as like, if she feels a certain way, like that's how she feels reality is, in a world where like reality isn't always as it seems. What I do really appreciate about both characters, we have some kitty ASMR going on right now. What I do really appreciate about both characters is they are like described as like either normal to kind of ugly. Like Arthur, when she first sees him, she's like, who is this grumpy man who like kind of looks weird and all of that, very sort of like gangly, awkward dude who's frowning all the time. So even him as a character, I found him really interesting as well when we get starting to get like POV chapters from him. Because of everything that he's trying to uphold from like a family standpoint and all of the things that he knows and has been dealing with alone for some time. So these are two characters who are different but have some of their threads like intertwine in a really nice way for them as far as like wanting to have a home and wanting to be cared for and wanting to take care of and all of that. So there is a romance subplot that happens throughout here. I would say it's like fairly slow, and in the like sort of Pride and Prejudice side of things, it's not like Pride and Prejudice, but it's like in that vein of story where like they go from being like, I don't really like you and there's nothing really whatever, to like really forming a really good bond over time. So I really enjoyed that romance aspect of them as well. I wasn't sure at first, but by the time we started getting to some of the more fleshed out parts of the romance, I was definitely pulling for them. There's also some side character things going on as well that are interesting. They're like more minor side characters, but the ways in which they have had to exist in this town are put into the forefront as well, and so we get to see some character arcs there. So overall, I really enjoyed the character arcs that were present in this story as well. Lastly, we talk about the plot. It's a gothic horror kind of mystery. They're not, the horror elements to me aren't like super scary. It's more so like, again, thematically, what makes a monster, you know, sort of creepy house kind of stuff. But overall, like horror adjacent, I would say. If you're a scaredy cat like me, I don't really think this would bother you. But I enjoyed, again, how things are unfolding, how things are intertwining. I really enjoy stories where things that seem like they're unrelated eventually become very clear that they are related and things. So I overall really enjoyed this. There's enough smaller character moments interspersed with like sort of actiony things. So overall, I quite enjoyed this, and I gave this 4 to 4.5 out of 5 stars. This sits pretty highly in my feelings. It's so funny. Alix E Harrow is so hit and miss for me. Either I like adore her work, or I don't like it at all. And like nothing in between. When she does witchy sort of gothic stuff, it's perfect though. Like that's the lane that I like her most in. So comment down below, let me know what you thought of Starling House. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.